Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first Social Justice Forum. I'm Gretchen Musicant, and I'm a member of the Social Justice Ministry team, and we're the group that helps to organize these forums. We're always looking for ideas, though, so if you have ideas of speakers or topics, let us know. There's several members of the committee in the room here. So our social justice focus for this program year is acting based on our values, avoiding despair. And in these forums, we will seek to understand our continuing responsibility to help build a loving, sustainable, and just community. We are pleased to welcome to Westminster today Michelle Rivero, who is Director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs for the City of Minneapolis. This office is dedicated to advancing a robust, welcoming infrastructure so that community members born outside the United States are able to achieve lives of safety, dignity, and opportunity in Minneapolis. Michelle is the daughter of parents who immigrated to the United States from Colombia and Italy. She's a graduate of Macalester College and DePaul University College of Law, and is strongly committed to the ideal of the United States as a nation of opportunity and welcome. She will be speaking today on the topic of always welcome, fostering a sense of belonging in the city of Minneapolis. And we'll discuss her office's role in helping build a sustaining a culture of welcome during times of conflict. So we're getting some extra chairs, which is a great challenge. Just want to say for those of us, just a few logistic items before we turn to Michelle. We will be taking questions and concerns people might have. Raise your hand here in the room, or you have cards on the table. And if you want to write a question, and have a moderator, myself or someone else, read that on your behalf, please do that. If you are online, you can write your questions, concerns in the chat, and we have someone who is monitoring all of that activity and will raise questions and comments on your behalf. For those of you attending here, please wait for someone to come to you with a microphone before you speak. It's not just to help you be heard here in the room, but since this is remote and we have people who are watching us from afar, they need the microphone in order to hear you at all. All right, as part of our ongoing effort to promote respectful conversations, let's see, I think I need to advance this. Around concerns in our community, we have established guidelines that you will see on this screen. Please take a minute to look at them, review them. Maybe there's one you need to read in more detail, or you'd like to read in more detail. And then, finally, before we get started, a short prayer. Let us pray. Holy One, God of justice, breathe into us today a spirit of curiosity and humility. Help us engage with mindfulness, following the lead of voices from our community. Guide our speech and our self-awareness so that we may honor the divine in all people. Amen. Now, please join me in welcoming Michelle.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. So, hi, everyone. Thank you so much to Westminster for inviting me to be here today, and especially to Gretchen, through whom this invitation came. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Sometimes my voice goes down. So, yes. Oh my gosh, I should be doing this. Thank you. No, this is a good reminder. This is a good reminder for me to make sure to do all the things. Okay, there. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. I want you to know about me. I'm going to ask a little bit about you too. I think that whenever a person holds a microphone, there's a level of vulnerability there. And it's good to acknowledge that, because it breaks the ice a little bit. It's a little bit of an icebreaker. And we have a lot of ground to cover. And I feel like this is an important part of fostering an environment of welcome and an environment where we all feel a sense of belonging together. Perhaps all of you know each other, but I don't know many of you. So hopefully by the end of the hour, we will get to know each other better. And I also want to make sure that we talk about Welcoming Week, which started on Friday and lasts through September 21st, because I'm going to make an ask of you all before we conclude the hour about Welcoming Week. I also want to acknowledge that we are living in a very difficult time where it feels like there's a lot of tragedy and a lot of threats to our safety, and challenges to what we know and believe to be right. And sometimes it's hard not to feel overwhelmed and threatened and fearful. And yet there is so much power in being together in this room and sharing a cup of coffee and sharing a laugh and telling a story. And that's part of creating a welcoming environment and fostering a sense of belonging. And if we can take little actions one by one, they strengthen us all as a community. And so we'll do some of that today too. Again, I want to express my gratitude to Westminster for inviting me to be here today, and especially Gretchen, through whom this invitation came. I had the great pleasure, and I've continued to have the pleasure of working with Gretchen, both in her previous role as the commissioner of the Minneapolis Health Department and beyond. So thank you very much. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own background. I know it was shared in the introductory remarks that my parents are from other countries. My mom is from Sicily, Italy, and my father is from Colombia. I am not a native Minnesotan. I was born in New York, and I moved to Louisiana when I was 6, and I came to Minnesota for undergrad. And when I was younger, when I was in college and going back and forth from Minnesota to Louisiana, I often heard in the same tone of voice people saying the other state's name. So when I was in Minnesota and I'd say I was from Louisiana, people would be like, Louisiana? And then when I'd come home, when I'd return to Louisiana and I'd tell people I was going to school in Minnesota, people are like, Minnesota? Like, why would you do that, right? And I think that's true for a lot of us who migrate, whether within the United States or in other countries, right? That question of, why would you do that? What are you doing? Like that idea of why would you leave home? And some of us do it by choice, and some of us do it because we have no choice, right? And so recognizing that when you're in a new space, people sometimes question your decisions around why you would leave where you are from in the first place is a thing. The fact that I was raised by people from Sicily and Colombia during the 80s, there are some stereotypes, and I think it's important to think about stereotypes too, where the way you look, the color of your skin, the way you dress, where your ancestry is from, creates the opportunity, bless you, for people to feel like they're validating stereotypes, or even to have an impression about you and who you are before you even open your mouth. I think it's a relevant consideration for all of us today as we think about how those stereotypes or those narratives can impact not only how you view other people, right, but also how those people who are viewed act. So a person may want to not express themselves fully, not speak their native language because of the way that they may be perceived by others. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind as we think about welcoming and fostering a sense of belonging where people can truly be themselves and express themselves and feel comfortable and feel safe to do that. So I just wanted to share those preliminary things about me because these are things that I bring into my work as a director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. And I also feel like I have to say that it's an incredibly humbling experience and something I feel so much gratitude for, to be able to be someone who welcomes others when I myself was welcomed to this community by so many people. So it's very exciting, and it's work that involves all of us. So I want to talk a little bit about the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and share what this office does in the context of promoting welcoming infrastructure, not just in the city of Minneapolis, but across the state. And as you walked in, you probably saw there's a table that has some materials, and invite folks to, if you need a stretch during this hour and want to go grab some information, feel free to grab the postcard for the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, which has a QR code that will lead you to, hold on, here's my first test. Okay. If this doesn't work, you'll still listen to the stuff I have to say afterwards, right? Okay, hold on. Okay. All right, I did it. I can't believe it. Okay, so thank you, Eric, who trained me in like 3 minutes. Okay, so this is the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs webpage. If you see that little postcard with the QR code on it, it'll take you to this website. We spent a lot of time trying to ensure that the information here is comprehensive and available in multiple languages for folks. And because some people communicate better orally than reading, we also host community hours so that we can walk people through this information. So some general information about what we do, information about rights and resources, how to get help, meetings and events, becoming a US citizen, because we have over 10,000 people who could become US citizens who are residents of the city of Minneapolis, and we want people to take that last step in their immigration journey and more. So let's see if I can get back from here. Oh my gosh, this is so much multitasking. And I'm gonna confess, I'm over 50, so like I can't see as well as I used to, and I also can't multitask as well as I used to too. So so please forgive me if it takes me a second to keep going. Let's see. So I'll just say quickly that the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs was established in 2018 during the last Trump administration, and it was created in a moment where there's a lot of anxiety around government, quote unquote, right? Without a distinction between the federal government and municipal government. And one of the ideas from city leadership was, we need people to understand that the city of Minneapolis is a city that welcomes all. And how do we do that? So the idea was to create an Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. There would be an open door for residents of the city, or for anyone in the city who was not born in the United States, so that people would know that there is a safe place, in the city, that people could access information without feeling fear that a connection with a municipal employee would result in immigration enforcement. Around the time that the office was created, there were a number of other steps taken by the city. The city created a program to ensure that people were able to access free immigration legal services, so establish contractual relationships with several nonprofit immigration legal service organizations. Also passed a UNT visa ordinance to facilitate the ability of crime victims to be able to get a document that was necessary for an application for a visa based on the fact that they were victims of crime. And then there was an intentional effort to share more information about the city's separation ordinance, which was actually passed in 2003. But a lot of people don't know what the separation ordinance says. And it says that city employees will not inquire about immigration status, and also that city employees will not participate in immigration enforcement. So around the time that the office was established, there was also this push to ensure that people understood what we meant when we said we're a welcoming city, and that this is part of it, that we have this separation ordinance, that we will not inquire about immigration status, and more. The population of the city of Minneapolis is over 60,000 people who were born, includes over 60,000 people who were born outside the United States. There's another piece of information, I only have a few copies, the Journey to Belonging in the Twin Cities report, which was a report that was published in conjunction with the city of St. Paul, the Minneapolis Regional Chamber, and the St. Paul Chamber, that has some statistics regarding our immigrant, our non-US born populations in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and also has information about goals and strategies around immigrant and refugee inclusion that's also available on our website in case you're interested, and there are a few copies here today. So primary responsibilities of OIRA include to connect people to immigration legal service providers, to make sure that people are aware of immigration-related developments and aware of how to get assistance, and also that we're a touch point for city residents and people who are in the city, regardless of whether they're born outside the United States or not, so regardless of whether people are impacted individuals or are allies, right? People who are interested in supporting immigrant and refugee inclusion initiatives. So how do you do that? How do you do that in a one-person office? Because when OIRA started, it was a one-person office. And the way to do that is by connecting to as many people as possible. So I was invited to Westminster 7 years ago, which was so exciting, and met some of you and engaged with so many other folks, whether it's neighborhood organizations, community-based organizations, legal service providers, healthcare institutions, anyone, right? To build or help support a stronger, welcoming infrastructure here in Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota as well. Once we had a year of existence of OIRA, the city of St. Paul also initiated an immigrant and refugee program with my colleague in St. Paul, Edmundo Lijo, with whom I collaborate a great deal, and it has been all for the good, all for the benefit of residents of our Twin Cities area and beyond. So we've hosted citizenship fairs. We started the Twin Cities Immigration Forum, which is a virtual space for people to learn about immigration-related developments, to connect with legal service providers, to ask questions, and to form a stronger network of folks who are committed to this work and are committed to fostering a spirit of welcome and belonging in our city. I feel like we all learn to do by doing. That was actually my high school motto in Latin, discimus agere agendo. We learn to do by doing. And it's so funny how the experiences you have as a child stay with you, and the things that you learned as a young person kind of guide the trajectory of your life in ways that you don't even think about. So learning to do by doing with the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and the city's work on promoting immigrant and refugee inclusion, we've learned by hearing from community what community wants to see the city doing. And one of the things is actually being physically present. So it's not enough to give a telephone number, right, of a legal service provider. It's not enough to have a virtual space where people are connecting. You need to be in person. You need to be where people are. And so we started, the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs started hosting community hours on Lake Street through the collaboration with city departments as well as the state of Minnesota, because the office that we're in or the building that we're in is a Career Force Center, so is run by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. And we're there 3 days a week in the afternoons, Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday. Anyone is welcome to come, so if you'd like to come visit, I invite you to do that. And primarily what we do is connect people to community hours that are run by our legal service provider partners and try to answer any question that people have. Do some navigation there as well. And have felt like that has been a great way to understand better the challenges that people are experiencing, understand better how to meet those challenges and assist people in accomplishing the objectives that they have, which really are having lives of safety, providing for their children, access to employment, English language learning, and more. So if there are individuals in the audience who are interested in learning more about the community hours or anything else I shared today, I invite you to check out the website, but then also to reach out to me and even to visit us at our community hours to learn more. Another responsibility of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs is to celebrate our diverse community in Minneapolis. That includes hosting events of celebration and events where people are able to learn more about the dynamics of our community. So, for example, Immigrant Heritage Month and World Refugee Day, which we celebrate in June. Welcoming Week, which we'll talk about more in a second, in September. Latino Heritage Month, International Migrants Day, which is in December, and many more occasions, whether it is through supporting city council members in advancing resolutions, and we had a Welcoming Week resolution last week, hosting events in community that offer people the opportunity to learn about one another, or promoting events that are taking place in community. These are some of the ways that we recognize these important occasions and also elevate the presence of a variety of different cultural communities in our city. So, okay, I'm going to do this again. Okay, I'm going to walk through a couple of slides, a couple of websites that are also city websites, and I hope I don't lose. Oh my gosh, bear with me. So in June, to recognize Immigrant Heritage Month, the city launched an All Are Welcome Here campaign. If you're driving around this weekend, you may see billboards that have this image because we're using this for Welcoming Week 2025 as well. As I said a little earlier, the city has a separation ordinance. In light of challenges and threats and fears that people are experiencing in our current reality this year, given changes at the federal level, we really want people to understand what it means for the city of Minneapolis to be a welcoming city. We want to reinforce the message that we have a municipal law, which we are defending in court at this moment, indicating that we do not share or inquire about immigration status or participate in immigration enforcement, and where people can go to get accurate, concrete information, including about their rights, because understanding your rights, it's a tenet of our society in the United States, right? Our society is founded on the Constitution, and so ensuring that people are aware of their rights is especially important now. So we want people to have this information, want people to understand what our separation ordinance means, and we want folks to have access to information on where they can learn more. And during Welcoming Week, we are promoting this message of all are welcome here. And like I said, you'll probably see billboards around the Twin Cities, around the City of Minneapolis area with this message leading you to a website where folks can learn more. Also, at the back of the room, we have all our welcome here cards. So the same information, the QR code takes you to this website. The information is available in multiple languages. If people are interested in having copies of the cards sent out so that you can print them out, put them in your place of work, or share them with others to communicate this message out. This is something really valuable and concrete, and is an excellent way to participate in Welcoming Week this year. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Welcoming Week, and I'm trying to be cognizant of our time because I want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to ask questions or share your own reflections as well. So Welcoming Week is an annual opportunity to celebrate the diversity of our communities. It was spearheaded by an organization called Welcoming America, I believe in 2012. And Welcoming America encourages communities around the country to host events that celebrate our community, and also because Citizenship Day falls on September 17th. It always falls during Welcoming Week. So Citizenship Day and Constitution Day, the day that the U.S. Constitution was signed, September 17th, is recognized during Welcoming Week. And communities are invited to and encouraged to host events that highlight the importance and the meaning of U.S. citizenship, how to become a U.S. citizen. And since 2017, the City of Minneapolis has hosted events recognizing Welcoming Week and also helping people understand how to obtain U.S. citizenship. And this year is no different. So I mentioned City Council advanced a resolution last week. We had this year is really exciting because our Welcoming Week planning committee included folks at the state level and in different cities, Minneapolis Parks and Rec and more. And I feel a little emotional saying it, but like this is the first year that the governor of the state of Minnesota advanced a Welcoming Week proclamation. So it's really exciting, you know, given that we in the city have celebrated since 2017, that this is the first year that a governor has advanced a Welcoming Week resolution. This is also the first year that we did a litter pickup for Welcoming Week, which was on Friday and was awesome. I mean, we were on Lake in Hiawatha, and it was a nice opportunity to get together. Minneapolis Police Department joined, as well as folks from a variety of different entities, including the Hennepin County Office of Multicultural Services, and we had a little celebration afterwards. There are more events that are taking place this week, and this is one of my asks. I invite you to learn more, and please, if you want one takeaway action from today, please join or share with somebody else. I have a couple of flyers. I'll invite folks to take pictures of if you want. There is a job fair that's happening on Monday, so tomorrow, at Career Force. This is led by the State Office of New Americans with interpretation support in multiple languages. So there will be some employers there who are available to talk about job opportunities that exist with their places of employment right now. So want to ensure that people become more familiar with Career Force at 777 East Lake Street, have access to interpretation support, and also have the opportunity to grab some coffee and donuts. So if folks are interested in learning more, it will be from 1 to 3 p.m. tomorrow. Then we'll also have City of Minneapolis and City of St. Paul will host a special edition of the Twin Cities Immigration Forum, which is virtual, on Thursday, September 18th. And then one last event is the Citizenship Workshop, which will take place on September 20th. So if individuals are interested in learning more, the Citizenship Workshop is a a 4-hour event on Saturday. It'll be in St. Paul. People can reach out if you're interested in location information. And one of the things that we hope to accomplish is to connect any person who is interested in and could qualify for U.S. citizenship with a nonprofit immigration legal service provider to get on that path. And for people who maybe have barriers or would experience challenges, or for whom maybe now is not the right time to apply for citizenship, that they learn and understand through presentations, the potential for one-on-one consultations, and more. I think that, I wanted to keep this conversation high level and talk more in generalities around what it is to be a welcoming city and how we can all play a part. But I think one thing specific to naturalization that I'd like to highlight from the standpoint of federal administration initiatives is that it is becoming more difficult to become a U.S. citizen. And it is very important for people who are interested in taking that step to connect with a legal service provider, to learn more about the application process. And this is an excellent opportunity in a safe space for people to do that. We're really grateful at all the organizations that are participating, including our nonprofit immigration legal service provider partners, the Advocates for Human Rights, Volunteer Lawyers Network, International Institute of Minnesota, and more. We also, Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, I feel like when you name things, you always forget something. So we're also really grateful that this year we're partnering with the American Immigration Lawyers Association Minnesota Dakotas chapter in hosting this citizenship workshop in recognizing Citizenship Day and Constitution Day. So I do have some flyers. I think they're in my bag. But if you are interested in spreading the word, that is my one ask, that for Welcoming Week, you either visit, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm not forgetting, so at least I'm not forgetting. Maybe I'm doing it a little later than I intended to, but I'm not forgetting. Okay. So here is a little bit of information about Welcoming Week and some of the events that have taken place. You can look at Mayor Fry's Facebook page because Mayor Fry did a beautiful video this week. You can check out the City Council resolution and participate in or learn more about some of the events that are taking place. And again, invite you to participate, come, observe, learn more. I think that one of the things that is valuable to appreciate is the power of accompaniment. And forgive me that I don't know all of you and I don't know the degree to which maybe you know more than I do about the concept of accompaniment. I'm sure many of you do. But in the context of the world that we're living in right now, showing up for someone, going with them to their appointment, helping them walk through something that is a challenge or maybe frightening or maybe dangerous for them, like your presence, your identity, it makes so much of a difference right now. And so for Welcoming Week and beyond, I really invite folks to think about, if you are doing something that you feel is valuable and meaningful, to spread the word to others. And if you're looking for opportunities, you can join the Twin Cities Immigration Forum. I'm sure, in this and other faith-based institutions, there's so many activities that are taking place where your energy and your passion and your kindness and your love matter. Now more than ever. So I think I might just pause there because this is a good moment, and we're at 9:50, so maybe this is good. Maybe it's a little early, actually. But yeah, would love for people to share your thoughts, your reflections. If there's something that would be useful for others to learn and know, invite you to share that as well. And if folks have things that you'd like to note down, or if you'd like the mic to share it, whatever feels more comfortable. Does that sound okay? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I'll just say thank you so much for taking time. It's lovely to see you. I hope we have the opportunity to talk more. And I'm very, very grateful for the invitation to be here today. I'm especially grateful for this lovely turnout. It's so wonderful to see so many people who are interested in this subject and are interested in learning more. So thank you.
And I have a microphone to bring around to you for questions. And David has a question here, I think, to start with.
Way to put me on the spot. Thanks, Phil. I was hoping to give out the floor to our church member first. Thank you so much for being here today. My questions, I have so many questions in my mind, and you address so many important topics. So first question is, maybe we may not directly interface with your office and your work. What advice or what recommendation would you give when we, as an organization, or we ourselves had to run into or interface with ICE agents in support of the work that you're doing with someone we know or someone in our community?
I'm so grateful that you asked that question around what suggestions would I make if there are interactions with ICE, with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And I can share that on the OIRA webpage, there is general information regarding interactions with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I can also share that there are a number of organizations that are doing trainings, including simulations, because sometimes when you're in the moment, it's a very different experience than when you're just imagining, oh, what would I do, right? So I'm happy to connect people with some of those organizations that are doing trainings. I think that your question, I'm glad that you raised this question because it also gives me the opportunity to speak to the limits of what city employees can do, whether it's me in the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, whether it's other offices like the city attorney's office. I can't advise an external institution, and neither could other representatives of the city. So one of the things that we suggest is actually consulting with an immigration attorney to establish a plan, some kind of plan, so that if you're hosting an event, for example, or if you're contemplating, what could happen if immigration enforcement agents enter a space, you've done some pre-planning and have a plan in place. I can also share that emergency preparedness is a topic that some of us may be familiar with in a different context, like preparing for a tornado, or what is it called? Straight line winds, right? And the destruction that can cause. Preparedness, if you think about preparedness very broadly, this is a form of preparedness. And so invite folks to connect with different organizations. Again, I'm happy to make some suggestions for folks. Feel free to reach out to me. And I appreciate, again, that you raised the concern, and I think it's very important that if one hasn't done that kind of preparedness work or like simulation, not a bad idea to do it, whether you're an individual or an organization.
Just one follow-up, just important is, I'm David, one of the associate pastors here working with Elena and also our wonderful volunteers here. And it's important to contextualize my questions. Also, the staff have taken time and energy and prayerfulness to consider how to prepare. So it is in the work, so to speak. So it's not just asking out of the blue, but in preparations. And this is important for us to know as a community.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks again for your presentation and your excellent work. My question is, and comment are pretty much what David said, although given my hearing loss, I couldn't hear everything he said. What I would like to ask you is, I'm hoping that on the resource table, which I haven't looked at yet, that there's a list of legal partner organizations, or there, and you mentioned the one about the attorneys, but some, in other words, specific partner organizations, and also ways that perhaps some of us who are interested here and elsewhere could plug into the system in small ways.
Thank you for that question. And I just am kind of guiding us through the Know Your Rights page for the City of Minneapolis. And this is available on a card that's at the table. So there are some fact sheets, including in multiple languages, information about what to do if you're stopped, if a friend or family member is detained, if immigration comes to your workplace. There are resource guides and additional information and information about finding a lawyer. On the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs webpage, which I think I can get to here, we have information about the immigration legal service providers that we partner with. And that includes the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, Advocates for Human Rights, Volunteer Lawyers Network, Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, and did I say Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota? They're listed right here. One thing I want to say with regard to different community-based organizations and why I don't have a list today of those community-based organizations that are doing trainings is, and I think that this is something valuable for all of us to keep in mind. There are concerns that people have about their own security and their own safety. And so while I'm happy to identify and have conversations around different organizations that may do trainings, I do think that it's valuable for all of us to recognize that sometimes sharing information, whether it's an email where you're trying to get help for a friend or an organization, sometimes that can put someone in jeopardy. And so keeping that in mind as we're moving forward, we are sharing information that that we're able to share. And we also invite people to come to the Twin Cities Immigration Forum, which is a virtual forum, to connect with some of these different organizations that are sharing information about the work that they do. So really trying to be available to people in different ways, in ways that they may feel safe communicating information.
Thank you. My name is Dwayne Cronky. I'm a retired lawyer, did pro bono asylum work. I have family connections with Ecuador, and I know that there are more Ecuadorians here because of all the problems that Ecuador has been going through. Do you have any idea how many Ecuadorians are now living in Minneapolis, and what sort of problems are they encountering?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Actually, OIRA, the office where I work, participates in community hours at the Ecuadorian consulate once a month, so have a strong connection with the Ecuadorian community. Also, you know, the federal government at different times is more or less open with regard to information that is shared about community members who make their way to the United States. During the last administration, there was information shared around estimated numbers of people who expressed an intent to come to the Minnesota-Wisconsin area. And I believe the total number was around 5,000 individuals, but that's around 2023, 2024. So there is not a systemic way to identify exactly how many people from a particular country are in our community at any given time. But that was the last statistic that we had, again, during the last administration. And I can attest to the fact that we continue to have newcomers coming to Minneapolis from Ecuador and are very much engaged with that community here. And thank you so much for your question and also for your service, including my husband was a public defender for a long time too, so yeah. Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
there is a lot of controversy over the Somali community, and we apparently are facing unprecedented scandal heavily involving the Somali community. You've talked about all of the preventions, et cetera. Is there any programs that say, don't sign up for 1,000 meals that you're providing each day when you're not providing any at all? Don't engage in these illegal activities, because I think it's going to deeply affect the politics of Minnesota, but also the traditional welcoming of immigrants that Minnesota has provided.
Thank you so much for your question. When a person comes to a new country, when a person comes to a new community like Louisiana to Minnesota, understanding how things work can be a process, right? I know that one of the ways in which we work to collaborate with other city departments to support people who engage in entrepreneurial activity, of which there are many in the immigrant community, thousands of immigrant entrepreneurs in Minneapolis, is to ensure that people are familiar with city, county, as well as community resources. So, for example, the City of Minneapolis has a small business team which can provide some education and guidance and connection to resources for individuals interested in starting a business. There's a program at the county level which is called Elevate, which is another connection point for people who are interested in starting businesses. I think one element of your question also points to the concept of fraud awareness. There are so many schemes out there. There are so many ways in which people are being defrauded or maybe being co-opted into activities that create problems for themselves, their communities, and more. So whether it is at the city level, at the county level, or even at the state level with the Attorney General's office, increasing fraud awareness and ensuring that people are connected with resources that includes through videos from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office that are in multiple languages about fraud. I think we are incentivized to work more closely together to ensure that people are not co-opted into these types of schemes and understand what the consequences are, including criminal consequences. So thank you for your question.
Yes, it only took 2 years and 8 months for my wife to come from Morocco to here. 2 years and 6 months for the legal process, and 2 months for waiting for the price of the ticket to go down, that I can bring her here. But when I bring her here, she was shocked because my ministry is in Peace House and in Frogtown in St. Paul with the mentally ill and homeless. She was shocked, and it's not what she expected about America and American life. So if there is any program that can help with this culture shock, thank you.
I really appreciate that suggestion. I actually read a book recently which had that same perspective, you know, of when I came to the United States, it's so much different from what I expected it to be. I know that there are a number of institutions that work to support and help people understand, even before they come to the United States, right, on things to expect. I know International Institute is one organization that offers education, but I really appreciate this suggestion, and it's something that I'm going to take back from the standpoint of our own city work in helping community members who may feel a disconnect between what they understood about the United States before coming and the reality of what they experience when they come here. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I know even knowing you and your work, I learned so much. So thank you. Let me put my glasses on here to tell you a little bit about, oh, please join me in thanking Michelle. And then I want to tell you about next week, which will be an opportunity for us to learn more on related topics. So next week, our Social Justice Forum will welcome Michelle Eberhardt, who is Director of Refugee Services for the International Institute of Minnesota. And you'll see that's one of the partners on the website there. And she will be here to discuss current immigration policy, practices, and impacts on individuals and opportunities for engagement. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.